you headed to? So maybe you need to tell people again.
Okay, so we are headed to Tornillo. This is a temporary shelter set up by our government, operated by a contractor who has been paid tens of millions of dollars so far to keep children, some initially who had been taken from their parents, now the majority or all of them who have arrived at this country unaccompanied, largely from Central America, awaiting reunification with family. So in our laws in the U.S. and our asylum laws and our immigration laws, we seek to find a sponsor for a child who arrives here unaccompanied. Now that can be a mom, a dad, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle here in the United States. But before they can be placed with that sponsor, there is a background check conducted. This administration, the Trump administration, has made it nearly impossible for families to come forward because they have not only done a background check for the interests of the child, for Health and Human Services, which has custody of that child, they have shared the background check information with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which means that if you are that grandparent in Tucson, Arizona, who wants to step forward and take custody of that child incarcerated here in Tornillo, they're going to do a background check, including a fingerprint check on you and everyone in your house. So if you're a mixed immigration status house, that is, you have a cousin who is undocumented or has questionable immigration status, that person will be swept up in the background check that is conducted by HHS, which is shared with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is the agency responsible for deporting people in this country who are here undocumented. So in the recent days, the administration has changed this policy to just do a background check on the primary sponsor. That, we hope, is going to speed up the background check process and remove some of the hazard of coming forward to claim and receive a child who needs a home. Unfortunately, even though we're just doing the background check on the primary sponsor, that background check information, my understanding is still shared with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which means that it could still possibly result in removal proceedings for the sponsor who comes forward. There were, at last count, more than 2,700 children here at this Tornillo temporary shelter, a temporary shelter that's now been in operation for 6 months at a cost of $144 million, more than $1 million a day to the taxpayer in this country. Temporary shelter supposed to just be up for weeks, maybe a couple of months, now open seemingly indefinitely. We're going to try to find out, Stephanie may have been calling to share this with us, how many children are there now, whether the change in administration policy that reduces the burden of background checks from everyone in the household to just the primary sponsor, if that's sped up the process and resulted in more kids being released. We'll see.
So Stephanie said 100 kids were released last week.
100 kids released last week.
Another 100 should be released this week.
Another 100 this week.
And 300 to 400 do not have a sponsor.
Of the 2,700, Amy's saying 300 to 400 do not have a sponsor who's come forward. May then transition into the foster care system in this country. May end up going back to their country of origin. Some kids, I have been told by the contractor BCFS that runs Tornillo, have voluntarily gone back to their country of origin. I say that in that way because I don't know what the check is to know whether kids are voluntarily doing this, whether they fully understand their rights, whether they speak the language in which these conversations are happening. Some kids speak Spanish, some kids speak a native language that's neither Spanish nor English.